is the beginning of something revolutionary.
Standing in line to see the show tonight, and there's a light on, heavy glow. By the way, I tried to say I'll be there, waiting for.
Okay, hi everybody. Welcome back to the Youth and Power podcast, the YAT podcast, the officially unofficial California YNG podcast. Today we have co-host Devin Jassiconis and me, Sophia Hayes, and we are insanely excited to introduce and interview Violet Chin today from Spasm. So Violet is running for our 78th Youth Governor, and we're so grateful to have the opportunity to have her on our show today and talk about her platform, who she is, and her hobbies outside of YNG. So Violet, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi. My name is Violet Chin. I'm from the Spasm delegation. Caw. Thank you. And I'm really excited to be here. I'm a candidate, but also, I don't know, this is my third year in YNG. I've been in Ledge Houses, now I'm in ConCon. I was in Forum way back when, and I don't know, I'm excited to talk about my YNG experience and who I am.
Okay, let's get into it. Devin, take it away.
With our first question, you already showed us a second ago, but can you teach us your delegation callback?
Oh yes, it's caca. There's actually a lot of controversy over the Spasm delegation callback. It was changed from Spasm, which was very popular, but we had to change for some reason. The Y asked us to. So yeah, some people are still learning it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's iconic. I remember learning it at Surf, and I was like, this is good. This is a good one. Okay, so our next question, what is your favorite part about being in Spasm?
Oh, I love Spasm. I would say, I'm not from like my home school, I guess, in South Pasadena. I go to Loxo, which is a different school, and I just get to like reconnect and re-meet with all of my friends from South Pass, and it gives me such like community with the South Pass community. So I would say that's my favorite part, the people.
Yeah, Sophia and I are actually the opposite. We live like away from our delegation. Like we should be technically at a different delegation.
We should be in East Valley. Devin and I here should be in East Valley, but we are in Anderson Munger, which is in Koreatown, because it's close to where we go to school and not where we live.
I was just wondering what interested you in running for youth governor instead of like another role?
Yeah, so I guess I don't know whether to call it a generational delegate, but my older siblings did this program, and when I kind of
How many older siblings do you have?
I have so many. I have one, two, three, four. I have four older siblings and then one twin sister. Yes, lovely, lovely. And they did the program way back when in like literally like 2014, and the Y used to have so many more resources and things and just opportunities for their delegates. And obviously COVID was a big reason and kind of pushing back some of those things. Like there used to be two Bobs. And I think that when I came into the program, I saw how much potential it had, and I wanted to operate on a level where I could make that kind of large scale change.
Great answer. And like on top of that, have you had any roles in YNG on like a statewide or a delegation position?
Yeah, so my sophomore year, I served as the forum liaison for my delegation, and we had big recruitment increases, so I was very proud as the forum liaison. And then this year, I'm serving as the secretary of Spasm, which is lovely. I love taking notes. I don't know, I like to
That's Devin's position for our delegation.
Oh my God. I love that. I love to like romanticize when I'm taking the officer meeting notes. I'm like, I'm so scholarly, but yeah, I really liked being in delegation roles. That's it though. I kind of came in as, I don't know, not an outsider, but someone who hadn't ever dealt with the statewide kind of politics of YNG. And that's why running for Gov has been so fun. It's been so different.
Mm-hmm. Just sorry, like a different question that like wasn't even on the list, but like I think I remember seeing you at the officer retreat, and you had gotten the prompt for debate of like rom-coms or horror movies, and it was just like I remember I was sitting there and I was like, wow, like I don't know, I just remember your debate being like just like on it like constantly. It was really good.
Really? Oh, that's so sweet. I remember being up. I know Taylor Reagan, who's I think the president of
Yeah.
she is like a firecracker with her debates. And I remember I went up first and then they were picking another person for the audience and they chose Taylor and I was like, oof,
It was like great.
this
Yep.
is I actually respect her so much. She's such a queen. But yeah, I had such a fun time at the officers retreat and all those little debates, they felt like in the spirit of such fun rather than competition, which I loved.
Yeah, mine, I was like tired and delirious. So I just like, I remember like, I got like hot drinks versus cold drinks. And someone's like, what if it's hot outside? And I'm like, girl, go inside. Like, that was my answer. And I was like, oh,
No, I think you ate though, but and also
I did.
I feel
I
like
did.
I feel like you got the harder position.
Yeah, I was like, okay, like I got a harder position. And I was like glad to like argue the harder position. But like at the same time, I was just like, whatever. Like, it's like 10 p.m. I don't know. It felt like it was 10 p.m. And like, it was just all like in good fun.
It
Yeah,
was
we
a
had all
lot.
just come off of the bus.
Yeah. I think I just realized that Violet, I think you were like right across from us going to on the bus to go to Camp Surf. I just
Yes,
I
I
think
was
We were on the same
yeah,
bus as Spasm, yeah.
I
I
think we
think I
were.
remember this. Remember, like on the ride there, we had so many detours. It was like a
Yeah,
7.
there's so many stops.
It
Yeah.
could have been like a 2-hour bus ride.
We got there last.
Yeah, it
We
was awful.
got there last.
I was like
We'd
full
gotten
like
like the
really.
ends of dinner. I remember I was like, oh my God, this is not.
I remember like trying so hard to fall asleep, but at a certain point, I was like, this bus ride is too long. I cannot sleep through all of this. I was doing homework in the corner.
Yeah. And then can you tell us a little bit about the program areas that you said that you've been in, like for delegates who haven't been in them?
Yeah, so I did forum, which obviously is very like staple. I feel like forum's a good experience. I feel like everyone should do it, even though it's a little crazy having everyone kind of in one program area. But then I liked forum so much that I wanted something with the same I guess like basis and that felt like ledge houses which I had a really fun time arguing for our bill. It did not pass the second house but it passed the house I was in, so it was fun. We talked a lot about hostile architecture and I had such a fun time with ledge houses, but then my advisor asked me to go to con because she was like, I think you would be like challenged by it and there's like a lot of good speakers there that I think she just thought I needed to be pushed a little bit more, like she wanted me to get humbled. So yeah,
Oh
now I'm,
wow.
but yeah, it's been a fun time and I've liked all my program areas. I'm lucky to say that. I know I've heard some horror stories and that's like part of some stuff that I would like to improve, but I don't know. I've always had a really positive experience with some of my program areas, even though we may play icebreakers for 45 minutes straight at Camp Bob.
What was your position in like forum and those like committees that you guys had?
Oh, what was it? I think I was a lobbyist. I was a lobbyist and I had a really fun time. Except I did not bring the right shoes. Because on my freshman year, we were still required to wear formal shoes to SAC, and I did not bring the right shoes. And the lobbyist had to walk around so much. And I remember like the second I got back to my hotel room, I would just like kick off my shoes. They were awful.
Yeah, because last year I think it was like when they had lifted the rule that you don't need formal shoes anymore, but I didn't know that. So all my friends were just in sneakers and they were just so comfortable. And I was out there in heels and like the most comfortable pair of heels I ever had were like an inch over the height thing. So I had to bring my uncomfortable ones and I was like, this is just so, so great.
You probably looked great though, but I'm
Oh
so
my God, I
sorry.
totally did. I totally did. But like it was just so, oh, it was a whole thing. It was a whole thing. All
Mhm.
right. So what has been, I thought this question's my favorite one to ask. What is like your favorite moment or memory from a conference, whether it's like surf or Bob or Sacramento?
Oh, this is so difficult.
You can
Um,
name a few if you'd like to.
Okay, I'm gonna do that because I really have a hard time choosing. But my freshman year, like friendship circle, I felt like was really special to me. I won't out anything that was said, but I will say it like I don't know, coming into YNG and realizing the community that you have made at the end of the year, like that was such a special moment for me. And yeah, I mean the program's expensive. It's a big sacrifice of time for me because I mean, I'm a student film director and I that takes up 90% of my time. But it like kind of made me like reprioritize, and I was like, this is like so special to me. And I think that's what like got me hooked, I would say. More recently, I did really have a good time at Camp Surf. I think that a lot of my friends from the officer team had left and had graduated. So I was facing like a completely new officer team this year. I was, well, like, at Camp Surf, I was the only returning officer, and I just had such a fun time bonding with all these new people. And I think also just Camp Surf is such a special experience with so many like deeply passionate people from each delegation.
And then
Devin.
yeah, next I have a question straight from our delegation. So can you like rank these like following five program areas based on like their vibe or energy? Like based on like what you've heard or like based on like what you've experienced.
People you know from the program areas.
Yeah. So
Oh, okay.
well like not like people but like their experiences, you know.
But
Yeah.
like, yeah, like you take all the information you've had from these and then like you rank them accordingly.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So we have appellate court districts, ledge houses, CIB, so California Investment Bank, and then ConCon and Icon.
Okay. Oh, I don't want to offend anyone, but I know the least about CIB because we are only allowed like one delegate from Spasm in there,
Mhm.
and I don't
I've seen
think
the formula. It's crazy. It's like, oh, one delegate for this and one delegate for that, and then like five for this, and it's like it's insane.
we're only allowed like one delegate for CIB from Spasm, so I've never really like had an in-depth conversation with them. So I would say CIB, and then wait, can you re-say the
Yeah.
options?
Appellate court districts, ledge houses. You already have
Con,
CIB
icon,
and ConCon
CIB.
Icon. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, this is gonna be controversial, I feel like, because I love my current program area, but I'm gonna go icon then con. Only because I love them so much, but I will say it's very scary to speak in those two. And like personally, I've not had as many problems as I would say that like my friends and people other people I know have had, but it's such an intense, high-paced, fast experience that I think it can deter a lot of delegates from really speaking up. But at the same time, I think that's why it's so good. If you need to be pushed, that's where the place to go. But I'll rank those two next, icon then con. Then I'll do appellate court. My sister had a really good time in there. My twin sister Olivia, love her. And I
Love appellate court.
good things about her. I mean, not about her, but about the program area.
No, appellate court is a her. Like
Yeah,
appellate
you know
court
what
itself is a
about
her.
her? Like
Hmm.
she's queen, she eats. And then I'm gonna say Ledge House is first because it is crazy because when it's fun, it is so fun. But when it's not, it is in fact very boring. But I would say it has the most potential. It's like I would say it's probably the closest to like the real simulation of the actual government, which I like. And just it's so many people like from all of the delegation's ideas and everyone is just like kind of defending their ideas with their life in its ideal form. When it's not in its ideal form, it falls apart quite quickly.
Hmm. Okay. Earlier was my second favorite question to ask, but this is like my most favorite because I feel like it says a lot about like a candidate. So if you could join any other delegation for a day, which one would you choose and why? You can actually choose more than one if you want to, but like which ones would you choose and why?
I would choose Pittsburgh because they're a new delegation this year. This is their first
Really?
operating as a delegation. And
Usually we tell people about Pittsburgh and they're like Pittsburgh and like
I met with them the other day. They're all so sweet. And I really do think that we need to support our new delegations. We need to support our small delegations. And I would like to see kind of how they're operating because they're really like we talk a lot about like grassroots movements and like kind of like working from the ground up and they're doing that right now. And I think that's something that I mean, as much as it's a challenge, it's a really cool opportunity to kind of build something from scratch like that. So I would try to join Pittsburgh for a day and, see what they're building in the new era of YNG.
yeah.
I
Oh,
love
that's a really good answer. That's a really great answer.
I met somebody from Pittsburgh as well, and they said like I think it was like their first year and that they're not very well known and stuff. So I'm glad that you said Pittsburgh.
Yeah, they're great.
And then with my next question, I know like some great leaders have had like mentorship throughout their lives. do you think one of your biggest the or who do you think one of your biggest inspirations has been in like in either like your film or in like your leadership or like life overall?
Yeah. Hmm. That's a really difficult question. I mean, I study film a lot, and I would say meeting like the chair of my department, who I now like I talk to every day. He's one of my teachers, and his assistant Adriana has been like the best experience of my life because they're kind of I am really interested in education, not even specifically being a teacher, but also like working to just like, help spread awareness about like how we can educate in the arts, how we can educate in politics. And I think that they're operating, their department on such like a high level where it's for everyone. It's very accessible. They provide a lot of cool resources, and they're open to like every opportunity ever. They're like constantly emailing new production companies, being like, "Hi, we have 15 students who are looking for summer jobs. Let's give them one." And I would just love to be that person for someone in the future. And I think that's been so inspiring for me.
I love that. You always need like an advisor or like a teacher or somebody that's like always looking out for you in like in every field that you're interested in.
Completely, yeah. My mom, she teaches mindfulness and like meditation to like little kids. So um
Hmm.
I think that like teachers has just been like my biggest role models ever, and her and every other teacher I've had.
All right. So, what is it about your campaign that you think has like what has made your campaign successful enough to where you've made it to this point in the race?
I would say I would say my conversations with people because I mean, I think that every candidate has a lot of good ideas, but through like I cannot even count the number of people that I talk to at Camp Bob and that I've talked to in like virtual delegation meetings. And I think that approaching like being a candidate very conversationally rather than like being some sort of pillar for the program has kind of set me apart because I have all these ideas and so does every candidate, but through talking to people, I've been able to like be like, "Oh, here's like my like kind of life story. Here's all the places I've worked for. Here's all like the nonprofits I've helped out with. Here's all the things I've been able to implement." And they're able to kind of converse with me in the same way and say like, "I'm coming from this crazy cool background and bringing this to the program." And I feel like I've been able to see that like both candidates and delegates, like they're all bringing their life experiences to make what we know as YNG. And kind of through like that mutual respect and appreciation and honestly like high standards for each other, like I feel like I've just been able to unlock this completely new method of communication with all the delegates, and I hope that they can feel how much I like respect and love them. So I would say that's been the key to my campaign so far.
So, like in terms of that, like how has your delegation supported you throughout your campaign?
Oh yeah, they've been so awesome. Like I was a little bit scared going into being a candidate because I mean, it's a scary thing to do. I know it's like, and I messaged him and I was like, "Is it like worth it to run? Like, am I actually gonna be able to make change if I get there?" And he was like, "Yes, it's worth it. Yes, you should do it." And I remember talking to my delegation the other day and being like, "We all love our delegation so much. We all see all these problems in like statewide. We all see like the communication issues that we're facing and kind of the barriers that financial constraints have put on the program." And I felt like besides just even supporting me as a candidate, they supported kind of the dream that I had for the future of YNG.
And like your platform?
Yeah, and I think that that's been like because you can just tell with the morale that they're all kind of, behind me. My delegation went crazy on the bus ride home from Bob, and they've been helping me go around to people. I feel like if you went anywhere in Camp Bob, you would have a spaz in person being like, "Hi, I have a pin for you and you need to vote for our candidate." So, um,
Hmm.
sorry if you got swarmed with a billion pins, but also thank you to my spasm people who are out there on the fields with me.
I'd say people were avoiding eight. Like, I feel like delegations really respected like the if you have a delegate running, like don't force them. Like, I feel like people kind of avoided like Amy delegates and like spasm delegates like the plague. because they were like, oh, they have candidates running, and like Sonoma, I know like some people were like, oh, Sonoma, like don't go it because like they have a delegate running, and I think that that culture of like respect is like so like nice to see at Bob specifically. I feel like at Sacramento it's kind of lifted a little bit. It's like you campaign to anybody you can, but I really love to see that like at Bob is like I felt like there was like a certain level of respect that all the candidates had for each other, and I thought that that like really encapsulated like YNG. Sorry. Okay, moving on to the next question.
No, that was beautiful. That was absolutely
Oh,
beautiful. And speaking of Amy,
thank you.
I literally meeting Chelsea, one of the best parts of Camp Bob for me.
Oh my God, Chelsea had such a good time. I remember her telling me she's like, I don't even care that I didn't win. It was awesome, and I was like, I'm like, because I was a part of Chelsea's campaign team, so you would see me just like walking around, like screaming, like, "Go for Chelsea!" Like no shame, just carrying that sign with her face on it. And oh my God, I was so excited. But yeah, like from your experience so far, do you have any tips for like future like candidates or like for the 79th Big Three?
I would say, okay, in terms of like, okay, I feel like there's two sort of realms with this. One is like in terms of how to move on to Sacramento, which is, I guess, what I know as like a candidate technically. But the other that I think is more important than that I care about a lot more is like how to make the most out of your experience as a candidate and how to like spread that joy among the delegates around you. And in terms of that section, I would say don't spend every waking moment just like trying to promote yourself. Rather, like spend every conversation as an opportunity to make a new friend because that's so much more important and valuable. I feel like during the first day of Bob, every candidate was caught up in like, I have to talk to like 4 billion people and I have to give out like X amount of pins. And I remember like the first night I had almost given out like all my pins and I'd bought like 500 something. So I was like, whoa, okay. I've
Like a
done,
quarter of YNG.
I was like, I've done like a lot of the technical of like just kind of getting my name out there. But what I need to care about more is the reason why I ran, which is like to connect with people,
Mhm.
to make the program a better place. And I just started focusing on trying to do that through like encouraging people to get up and speak, like really taking the most and like trying to have a good time with the delegates and with the other candidates because that's I guess what's YNG is all about and that's why I chose to run. And I feel
Yeah.
like in refocusing on that, I had the best experience as a candidate.
Yeah, and that also
For
feeds
sure.
back into you'll just move on to the next level of the competition too while having fun, right? And even if you don't win, you would have already had fun. Well, you're gonna have fun, right? Yeah.
Yes, I mean, like, even just all the delegation visits I've been doing, it's so like thrilling. Just going home and like hopping on like 5, 6 Zoom calls in one day.
Yeah.
And each delegation I feel like that I've met with has brought me something where I'm like, that's like a moment like that I will. I've talked about like hot dogs being sandwiches and like so many different days, and like it's brought me like kind of like silliness that I felt like I really needed in my life, especially during junior year. So.
Yeah, we're doing that like back to back to back Zoom thing right now with like all these like interviews. So we know how it feels. It's crazy, right?
Yeah, it's
You're
crazy,
like
but
our like fifth interview rate. I don't know. I lost count.
oh my God. Wow, you guys are on the grind.
Oh yeah,
I mean, you are too at the campaigning. Haven't you like I don't know, I feel like I've
it's
seen you at, like
constant for
every
you. This was
single
just our Sunday. Like
yeah, I feel like I've seen you at like almost like every single like delegation at this point. Is that like the goal? As many delegations as possible?
That's the goal. I've actually reached out to every single delegation, and now I've like every delegation who has like responded to my emails I have met with so far. But now I am in the phase of sending 2 to 3 more emails being like, hey, just checking up on this, like trying
Bucks.
to get I've like gone around so many weird loopholes. I've like found random delegates' Instagrams and be like, hey, can you tell your officers I'm trying to meet with them? So
yeah, I think you were our first delegation interview or like campaign. Like right, she was right.
Yeah.
wow, okay, that's good to hear. I'm really just trying to talk to everyone because I mean, that's what I think we need in the future, YNG, more communication and less kind of like I mean, we should like be able to meet with the governor every other month. So I believe starting that early as I'm a candidate is I feel like it's just representative of what I hope that I can make in the future of YNG.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then we saw like your reaction video on the Instagram to like moving on to the next level of the competition, moving on to Sacramento. I just wanted to know if you could like briefly tell us like what did it mean to you in that moment to know like that you got so many votes and like you got the recognition from like the YNG community to be able to move on to this next level.
I mean, it was unbelievable. It was actually kind of funny that you brought that up because earlier today I was meeting up with my grandma who I haven't seen since Camp Bob, and she was like, "Oh, did you move on?" And I showed her the video, and she started laughing. She was like, "I did not know you could jump that much in one video." So, obviously, I was very excited. It meant a lot to me, but. I mean, yeah, YNG is a community that I respect so much. I feel like having a space where people are just kind of taught, like speaking their minds no matter what they believe, and like coming up with all this cool kind of like, what I don't want to say, I don't want to curse, but it's just like cool policy. And it's just this space that is kind of unrecreatable. So getting like I guess the respect of some of the delegates and getting the votes of some of the delegates who I literally like look up to so much was such like a moment for me of like, okay, like I can do this, like next steps, I can actually like make change in the way that I hope to. And I mean, yeah, I work in a lot of different nonprofits and I work and I hope to continue that work as I'm like going into college and like finding a career. And I feel like being showing that my communication skills and that my ability to connect with people were, I guess, at par to move on to Bob was so meaningful to me and it kind of gave me hope for like, I don't know, just my future and the future of like how youth interact with nonprofits.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And then also you're talking about communication a little earlier, but you talk about like using media to like increase grants and opportunities for the YNG community. I was wondering like why that's important to you and like what's your end goal with this idea?
Yeah, so I make a lot of different content every single day. I mean, I for my job at Make Noise today, a lot of my responsibility was promoting our annual scholarship competition for API youth. And through that, I realized that media was this really powerful tool to kind of get your word out there because I mean, obviously that seems obvious. Social media, it's all about getting views, it's all about getting likes, but I felt like I could leverage that system to instead like make change and using that in YNG is I feel like necessary as we kind of adapt to like the modern world of politics. Like we all saw the election this year, we all saw all of like the propositions. There was like TikToks, there was like all these different types of areas and seeing media is not something that's not just like kind of silly or not something that's kind of just representing what's happening, but instead driving change is so important for me to see because it's what's happening in the real world.
Hmm. Okay, so our next question is about like financial diversity in youth and gov. Can you elaborate on how you're going to improve the accessibility and like financial diversity in youth and gov?
So we had a lot of success in Spousum when we were talking to local middle schools and one using media and two just like going out there and like we literally went to auditoriums, we went to ASB, we went to all these different places and we recruited so many more people and people who could pay full tuition. And that gave us more money to use to like subsidize if hey, oh, you couldn't pay last year, actually come back. We have more money from more funds that students were paying and thus we have more scholarship money to give out. And I
Hmm.
think doing really simple things like that and encourage and like giving people a script of like, oh, you want to go to your local middle school? Here's like what you would say, or here's an email you would send to the local ASB or English or history teacher. And
Hmm.
making things more accessible will really help with financial diversity. And moreover, when we're creating new delegations, making sure that we're targeting areas of color, and just getting diverse perspectives like even just going to NorCal like we do not have I think Sonoma is as far as we go like we need to get more delegates from North Cal and California and just I don't know diversify our perspectives our views our financial kind of areas that we're coming from and that's why I'm part of FLC and that's why I've literally like begged everyone in my delegation. I'm like, join FLC, because the more campaigners we have, the more scholarship money we have to give out and make YNG a more diverse place.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was actually just at FLC
Great.
meeting on Tuesday, and yeah, it's a really good program. If anybody's watching out there, please join the program next year. It's a way not only for your friends who like might not be able to join the program because of like financial difficulties to be able to like be a part of the program with you, but it's just gonna inspire the new generation of leaders because this is a great program that we all love.
Yes, completely. And if you didn't join FLC this year, to anybody listening, please donate to our campaigns. It's on the Wise website, and
Even if
yeah,
you did join FLC, still you can donate.
yes.
Okay, Devin, take it away.
Yeah. And then what do you think the impact of opening up more positions in the governor's cabinet will make on the YNG community?
I mean, yeah, this is one of my favorite, like, I mean, I think this is one of my favorite policy points that I've kind of come up with, and something that I just think is going to be so impactful because, like, the more leadership roles we have, the more people who are inspired to go for those roles because maybe they find one that resonates with them. I tried out for governor's cabinet last year, did not get it, but I had such a fun time applying and like doing my interview and all that stuff. And I feel like one of the main reasons why I was very scared going into my interview was because I didn't really have a position that I felt like fitted what I was interested in. And there's so many like new jobs that are kind of forming in government. And I think that RYNG needs to reflect that. And also, it just gives us more opportunity to, I mean, I really want to have as diverse of a governor's cabinet as I could.
Mhm.
And that comes from like delegation, ethnicity, background, like, I don't know, financials, like all of that things I want to have more diverse. And the more people we have, the more perspectives we're getting.
That's a great answer. Okay, so as a mixed delegate and as someone who definitely loves to celebrate the month of June, I just want to know, like, how you plan to represent your communities and different groups of delegates. Because I feel like that was one of your biggest campaign points is like, you're a queer delegate, you're a delegate of color, so am I, and I just want to know like how you plan. Like, it really resonated with me, and I really want to know how you plan on like representing like our community a bit more.
100%. So this was one of the things when I was coming into YNG that was honestly probably one of the most deterring factors for me because I mean I just felt like caucuses were a little bit divided. I couldn't join female leaders in power and delegates of color. I couldn't
Yeah,
join caucus. So obviously I wanted
there
to.
was like three that applied to me, and then I was like, wait, I want to go to the three of them, and then like I couldn't because I was they're all at they're all at the same time.
Yeah, and even when I missed one Delegates of Color meeting to check out female leaders in power because we had a candidate running who needed to go to that delegation to try to get their endorsement, or not delegation, caucus to try to get their endorsement. And I noticed all of the women of color were not there. And that's like kind of, I mean, I can't speak to how female leaders in power is now, and they're doing a great job leading the caucus and representing those diverse voices in who their caucus chairs are. But I think just literally the planning that we have given to them has really hindered both delegates of color and female leaders in power and queer caucus and conservative caucus, all those caucuses, because we're not getting the diverse voices that we kind of preach. So I feel like one, varying caucus times is such a big part to me. And then two, I also just think, like I was saying earlier, representation. I want to make sure when you see all those governors, cabinet people sitting up on the stage, you can see someone who looks like you. And I hope to also, as a final thing, just give each caucus like point them in the direction of a nonprofit that might have a scholarship or a program that the delegates could get involved with. Because I know we have like usually one nonprofit or community or charity organization that we partner with, but we should really like be getting specific so everyone can find something that they resonate with.
Mm-hmm. It was a great answer. It was a great answer. Thank you.
And then going on to your filmmaking, is there anything that inspires you to just to like pursue this in your life?
Yeah. So, going into film was like a completely, I don't know, out of left field decision for me. And I think my parents were like, what? Because I'm a very like academically minded person growing up, and I still am to this day. I love studying, I love taking notes, all those sort of things. But going into the arts, I felt like honestly melded with that so much for me because film is all about collaboration. It's all about taking everyone's knowledge and, you're never going to know everything on a film set and just molding that other all together in this melting pot and making something really cool out of it. I loved watching TV and movies ever since I was a kid. I mean, who didn't? It's awesome. And I would always like, try to enter the like elementary school writing competitions. So I felt like it was kind of the natural progression. Like when I found out that was a thing that had so much teamwork involved, I just immediately wanted to do it. And I mean, I tell mostly horror stories now, which like I actually hate watching horror. So
Oh my God, I do too.
yeah, out of left field for me, but I really I feel like I found my place and I am excited to be like an upcoming like Asian woman trying to go into the industry because it's rare and I take kind of the privileges I've been awarded with such I don't know, kind of just as this very heavy thing that I carry because no like it's very very rare to get these sort of opportunities as an Asian woman and I want to make sure I can I don't know bring those to the mainstream.
Yeah, I also don't think a lot of people realize like how much work you have to put into a film. And you were saying that you spend like 90% of your time, or you said something like that earlier, like working on the film and like media that you're doing. And so I can definitely see like it's a huge inspiration and passion, or it's just a huge passion for you. I also love film too. I think film is like a great thing for expression in everybody's lives. And
I watch a lot of film, so.
yeah.
Hmm.
It's fun to be engaging in like stuff that you see on the television, you see when you go to the movie theater, you can make something like that.
Mhm.
And
Wait, hang on. I'm so sorry. Back to what you said about horror. I have to say, I've had like the same opinion for a while. It's like I can't watch horror because I feel like the horror genre has kind of gone away from like slasher and like gore to just like straight up disturbing. And I think that's my issue with it is that like it's not really horror movies anymore. It's just like psychological like thriller and torment. I'm just like I can't handle it sometimes. I'm like I don't. Mm-mm, mm-mm.
Yeah, I really don't like watching horror, but at the same time, or honestly, but my favorite movie is like a psychological horror movie. So like I say that, but
Mm-hmm,
it's a very small niche that I do like, but
mm-hmm.
I love being able to kind of control the narrative, and I think that kind of my favorite moment that I ever experienced with my films was when I made like a horror movie at the end of the year, and there's a big twist at the end. And like while we were screening it at a film fest that I had gotten into, like someone screamed in the audience, and I was like, I got him, like this is it, this is all that I need.
Mm-hmm.
And
Send that over to us. We will put it like we'll put a link in the podcast.
oh my God, yes, I will. I'll send my YouTube link to you guys.
Yay!
and then also my research team found out that you liked hiking a little bit in like the Santa Monica Mountains area. So can you like give like viewers out there or listeners like an idea of like what they should pack for a hike and like any tips or like tricks that you have?
Yeah, I would say I like hiking with my friends. I'm very bad at it. I always get lost. I think that's part of it. Um, I think I think going into it like as like free spirited as possible is kind of the best way to go about it because I mean if it's not a long hike, like I don't really go on super long hikes, but my I can't drive, but my friends who do drive like to oh, I'm sad. Eaton Canyon is very in need of help right now, but we usually would drive up to Eaton Canyon or sometimes to some of the trails in Van Nuys. And yeah,
Man, I have some pretty good trails. I gotta say, we have some pretty good trails.
it's awesome. And I would say just pack a water bottle, pack some money in cash in case you need it, which I hope you don't. In case you need to get an Uber last minute. And I don't know, pack snacks, but also don't pack snacks if you don't want to like alert the wildlife. But kind of go with like an open mind, an open heart, and good people, and you'll have a fun time. You'll get lost for a little bit if you're not using Google Maps, but you will have fun.
That's the best part of hiking.
Yes.
And then I know throughout this like interview you've talked a little bit about like your nonprofit work. Just for those that are interested, can you like tell the viewers like or the listeners like
Just tell us more about it. Yeah.
yeah, what nonprofits you're a part of?
Yeah, so like shout out to Make Noise Today, which was the first nonprofit I ever got involved with. I absolutely love them. They're just such good people. They're an organization off of Intertrend, which is the largest Asian American woman-owned advertising agency in, I think, the Western Hemisphere. It's crazy. And during like 2020, when
And
a bunch
spirit fingers.
of
Spirit fingers for that.
they when like all the Asian hate crimes were happening in 2020, they started up and they just started giving youth a platform to kind of tell their voice, and it evolved into like a educational toolkit that we sent to schools and a bunch of scholarships that I help promote and kind of organize the details of, which one is coming out soon, Asian American teens, look it up. Um, and that was the first one I got involved with. That is like, I don't know, one of my biggest passions. I hope to work with Make Noise Today till the day I die. And then the second one I got involved with, I feel like was a little bit more, I feel like famous. It gets better. And it gets better is huge. They're international. They work a lot. They're based in America, but they work a lot with India, Canada, Mexico, and they're a storytelling initiative for queer youth and older queer people to kind of tell their stories. And the suicide rates are so
Love
high
that.
for youth, and it's so important to me that people know that like it gets better and that
It gets
we
so much better. It gets so much better.
does get better. Middle school's the worst. It will get worse in middle school, but then
It will get so bad in middle school. But
yeah.
like after that, you realize that you have better clothing than everyone else. So
Yes, yes. That's the truth of being queer. And I
mhm.
just love working with them. They're right now I'm on like a recess. We're gonna go back into session like I think in February. So that will be really fun and we'll get to talk all things queer youth, and I work with I think 12 other queer youth from across the nation, and we just plan all things It Gets Better.
I love
Mhm.
that.
Okay. And this is so as you know, for our final question, it's a campaign season. And so you've probably been like going around and campaigning everywhere. As you mentioned before, you've gone to a lot of delegations and you've been campaigning. Um, and like you've probably been like telling people like what policies you want to implement and everything. But what we want to know is something from your campaign that you feel like you haven't gotten to highlight as much, and something from your campaign that you feel like you haven't been able to really put out there. Like what's something from your campaign that you feel like you want people to know more about?
Yeah. So I feel like this is a really interesting question. And I talked a lot, I think I talked a little bit about this at Camp Bob, but since then I haven't gotten the opportunity to talk about it as much. And it's kind of the rhetoric that we're using around YNG is something that really interests me because there's a lot of talk right now about like, oh, like you're like under this administration, you're gonna like be heard, or under this administration, I'm gonna listen to your voice. And I feel like I also just think it's less about helping delegates be heard, but more about having a governor that gives them platforms so the governor is able to listen. And I just think we need to change a lot of the rhetoric that we're using around YNG because right now there's a lot of talk of like, oh, like I'm gonna help YNG grow, but it's in a way that is almost diminishing of small delegations. And there's a lot of talk of I don't know how to exactly phrase this, but there's just kind of some rhetoric around like, oh, like, oh, we need to fix if people aren't speaking up, but instead providing opportunities for people to find how they might necessarily not want to speak, but find a new method of communication for them. And I think opening up those new pathways is something I'm really interested in. And I think that when like there we kind of have this standard for like what a great YNG delegate is, and I hope to change that with my campaign. Because there's so many different types of delegates and they all come together in this program, and that's what makes it so unique. So I guess that is my favorite and most unique part about my campaign, just changing a lot of our rhetoric.
It's beautiful.
Thank you so much, Violet, for coming on. We loved having you here. We hope that we asks you some great questions, and everybody, please check Violet out on the Instagram
On
and
YouTube.
and on the YouTube, and also if she visits your delegation, and then also you'll see her at Sacramento. Thank you again.
Thank you, Violet.
Hi, thank you.
Bye.